That day at the Burbank studio, nobody turned on the cameras. But everyone watched. Everyone saw how Bruce Lee changed Clint Eastwood's world in 45 seconds. Warner Brothers Studio Lot. Burbank, California. July 1973. The sun beat down on the western town facade where two productions shared adjacent sound stages. On stage 12, Clint Eastwood was filming his latest western. On stage 14, a small crew was setting up for martial arts sequences. The two worlds weren't supposed to meet. Clint Eastwood was Hollywood royalty by then. The man with no name. Dirty Harry. Box office gold. When he walked onto a set, people moved. When he spoke, people listened. He had a reputation, professional, no-nonsense, intolerant of anything that wasted time or money. Bruce Lee was different. Still proving himself in American cinema. Enter the Dragon was in post-production but hadn't been released yet. To most Hollywood executives he was that martial arts guy from that cancelled TV show. Talented, sure. But not Clint Eastwood. The problem started in a production meeting 3 weeks earlier. A producer had pitched a concept, a modern action film pairing Eastwood's stoic gunslinger persona with Lee's martial arts expertise. East meets West. Bullets and fists. The studio thought it was gold. Clint had read the treatment and said one word. No. Not interested. Not his style. Not happening. The producer pushed. Clint, this could be the biggest action film of the decade. Lee is incredible. You should see what he can do. I've seen martial arts, Clint said in that trademark rasp. Lot of flash. Lot of yelling. Lot of movies that don't make money in America. I make westerns. I make cop movies. I don't make kung fu pictures. That should have been the end of it. But Hollywood is a small town. Word traveled. Within a day, Bruce Lee knew that Clint Eastwood had turned down working with him. Knew that Eastwood thought martial arts was flash and yelling. Bruce didn't get angry. He rarely did. He just made a mental note. And waited. Bruce didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. July 17, 1973. 3:47 p.m. The lunch break overlapped between both productions. The studio commissary was packed. Crew members from both shoots mingled at tables. Clint sat with his director and stunt coordinator, discussing afternoon coverage. Bruce sat 3 tables away with his choreography team, sketching movement sequences on napkins. A young grip, 22 years old, eager to impress, approached Clint's table. He'd been working on Bruce's stage that morning and couldn't contain his excitement. Mr. Eastwood, you gotta see what Bruce Lee can do. I've never seen anything like it. He moves so fast the camera can't even. Kid, Clint interrupted, not unkindly. I'm sure he's very talented. But I've been doing action scenes for 10 years. Stunts. Real stunts. With real consequences. That's different from choreography. The grip retreated, embarrassed. Across the commissary, Bruce had heard every word. His team noticed his expression hadn't changed. But his pencil had stopped moving. One of his students, Dan Inosanto, leaned close. You want me to say something? No, Bruce said quietly. Actions, not words. Always. He stood up. Walked calmly across the commissary to Clint's table. The room's energy shifted immediately. Conversation stopped. People sensed something. Bruce stopped beside Clint's table. Didn't sit. Didn't impose. Just stood there until Clint looked up. Mr. Eastwood, Bruce said, his voice polite, measured. I understand you have reservations about martial arts and cinema. That's fair. You're a professional. You value authenticity. Clint studied him for a moment. That's right. I respect that, Bruce continued. But I'd like to show you something. Not choreography. Not flash. Just a principle. A technical principle. It would take less than 1 minute of your time. Clint's stunt coordinator started to object. but Clint held up one hand. Something in Bruce's tone, the absolute lack of challenge or ego, made him curious. "All right," Clint said. "1 minute." Bruce gestured toward the commissary's outdoor patio. "More space out there. And witnesses. I want witnesses." That last word hung in the air. They walked outside. Clint, Bruce, and within 30 seconds 40 crew members had followed them, forming a loose circle around the patio's central clearing. No cameras. No official anything. Just people sensing they were about to see something. Away from the cameras, Bruce made a choice no one expected. Bruce stood in the center of the patio. Relaxed. Hands at his sides. He looked at Clint. "I'm going to ask you to do something very simple," Bruce said. "I want you to try to hit me. A single punch. Anywhere you want. Use your full speed. Your full strength. I won't block. I won't counter. I'll just move." Clint's stunt coordinator laughed. "Bruce, Clint's got about 40 pounds on you. If he connects..." "He won't," Bruce said simply. Not arrogant. Stating fact. Clint looked at Bruce. At the man who weighed maybe 135 pounds soaking wet. At the absolute certainty in his eyes. "I don't want to hurt you," Clint said. "You won't," Bruce repeated. Something in Clint's competitive nature, honed by years of playing tough guys, by never backing down, clicked into place. All right. If this guy wanted a demonstration, he'd get one. Clint was 6'4". Long reach. He'd done his own stunts for years. He knew how to throw a punch. He set his feet. Measured the distance. No malice. Just professional execution. Then he threw. A straight right. Fast. Committed. The kind of punch that would absolutely connect if the other person didn't move. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. Bruce wasn't there. Not a big movement. Not a dramatic leap or spin. Just displacement. A shift of maybe 4 inches. Clint's fist passed through empty air where Bruce's head had been a fraction of a second earlier. 40 people on that patio saw it. 40 witnesses to something that didn't seem physically possible. Clint recovered, turned. Bruce stood exactly where he'd been, hands still at his sides, expression unchanged. "Again," Clint said. Not angry. Fascinated. He threw another punch. Different angle. Faster this time. Bruce moved. 2 inches. Upper body angle change. The punch missed by a whisper. Clint threw a third. A fourth. A fifth. Every single one missed. Not by much. But in fighting, an inch is everything. And Bruce hadn't moved his feet. Hadn't raised his hands. Hadn't done anything except exist in slightly different space than where Clint's fists were traveling. After the 7th attempt, Clint stopped. He was breathing hard. Not from exhaustion. From the cognitive dissonance of throwing 7 committed punches at a stationary target and hitting nothing but air. "How?" Clint said, and his voice had changed. The dismissive tone was gone. "How are you doing that?" Bruce smiled slightly. "Timing. Angles. Understanding that violence has geometry. You're very fast, Mr. Eastwood. Faster than most. But speed without precision is just movement. I'm not faster than you. I'm just more efficient." He took 1 step forward. Close enough to be in Clint's personal space. "May I show you something else?" Bruce asked. Clint nodded, still processing what had just happened. "Hold your arm straight out," Bruce said. "Make a fist. Lock your elbow." Clint did. His arm was solid. Muscular. The arm that had punched villains in a dozen movies. Bruce placed 2 fingers, just 2 fingers, index and middle, against Clint's extended fist. "I'm going to move you backward," Bruce said calmly. "Just with these 2 fingers. You're going to resist with your full strength. Ready?" "There's no way." Clint started. Bruce pushed. Not a shove. Not a strike. A push. Focused. Precise. All the force traveling through those 2 fingers into Clint's fist. Clint Eastwood, 6'4", 190 pounds, Hollywood action star, slid backward 3 feet across the patio. His locked arm folded like paper. His body followed the force because physics doesn't care about ego. The 40 witnesses gasped. Some laughed in disbelief. Some just stared. Clint looked down at his arm. At the 2 fingers that had just moved his entire body. Then back up at Bruce. That's not possible, Clint said quietly. It's not strength, Bruce said. It's leverage. Structure. Understanding how force travels through the human body. You're very strong, Mr. Eastwood. But strength without knowledge is just tension. But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. Clint did something then that surprised everyone who knew him. He smiled. A genuine smile. Not the squint. Not the smirk. A real expression of wonder. Show me more, he said. For the next 45 seconds, Bruce Lee gave Clint Eastwood a private demonstration of technical precision that redefined what the actor thought was possible. Second 1, Bruce asked Clint to grab his wrist as hard as he could. Clint did. Full grip strength. Bruce rotated his wrist, 1 small circular motion. And Clint's grip opened like a flower. Not forced. Just redirected. Second 8, Bruce demonstrated a 1-inch punch. Placed his fist 1 inch from a crew member's chest. The guy was 220 pounds. Bruce punched. The man flew backward 4 feet, landed on his ass, completely unharmed but completely shocked. Second 15, Bruce explained his philosophy while moving. I don't believe in classical martial arts. Rigid forms. Tradition for tradition's sake. I believe in absorbing what is useful. Rejecting what is useless. Adding what is specifically your own. Second 22, he showed Clint a Wing Chun trapping sequence. Hands moving so fast they blurred, controlling both of Clint's arms with what looked like gentle taps but felt like steel clamps. Second 30, Bruce stopped moving. Looked directly at Clint. In movies, we make fighting look dramatic. Lots of movement. Long sequences. Real fighting? Real fighting is about ending the conflict in the least amount of time with the least amount of damage. Efficiency. Control. Second 45, Bruce extended his hand for a handshake. Clint took it. The grip was firm but not crushing. Human. Thank you for your time, Mr. Eastwood, Bruce said. I hope I demonstrated that martial arts isn't just flash. It's physics. It's geometry. It's very, very real. He turned to walk away. Bruce, Clint called. Bruce stopped. Turned back. Clint stood there, the man who'd refused to work with him, who'd dismissed martial arts as movie tricks, and his expression had completely changed. That film they pitched, Clint said. The one where we team up. I want to read that script again. The 40 witnesses erupted. Cheering. Laughing. The energy shifted from tension to celebration. But Bruce just nodded. I'll have my agent send it over. No gloating. No triumph. Just professional acknowledgement. As he walked back towards stage 14, one of the crew members, a camera operator who'd been filming westerns for 20 years, said to nobody in particular, I've been on 1,000 shoots. I've seen John Wayne. I've seen Steve McQueen. I've never seen anything like what that little guy just did. The stunt coordinator who'd laughed earlier was quiet now. He moved Clint Eastwood with 2 fingers, he said, still processing. Clint. With 2 fingers. Ed, the young grip who'd started this whole thing, approached Clint carefully. Mr. Eastwood? You okay? Clint was still staring at his own hand. The one Bruce had moved with 2 fingers. Kid, Clint said slowly, I've been making action movies for 10 years. I thought I understood what real fighting looked like. I was wrong. That night, Clint Eastwood called the producer who'd pitched the team-up film. "I'm in," Clint said. "On one condition." "What's that?" "Bruce choreographs all the fight scenes. No studio interference. No traditional stunt coordination. He gets full creative control over every martial arts sequence. His way. Not Hollywood's way." The producer was silent for a moment. "Clint, you never give up creative control." "I do now," Clint said. "Because I just learned the difference between looking dangerous and being dangerous. Bruce Lee is the real thing." The film never got made. Bruce died 2 weeks later. August 20th, 1973. But Clint Eastwood kept something from that day. A black and white photograph. One of the crew had grabbed a still camera and captured the moment. Bruce's 2 fingers against Clint's fist. Clint's expression of complete disbelief. That photo hung in Clint's private office for 40 years. He never talked about it publicly. But people who worked with him noticed something changed after 1973. His fight choreography got tighter. More efficient. Less flash. More control. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. In interviews decades later, when asked about the toughest person he'd ever met, Clint Eastwood would pause. Think. Then say one name. Bruce Lee. And it wasn't even close. The 40 witnesses never forgot what they saw that day. Most of them are gone now. But the story remains. The day Hollywood's toughest cowboy learned that real power doesn't announce itself. It just moves you. With 2 fingers.